If you're a founder, a director, or you own a business function, and somebody asks you, what is your top priority this quarter? You probably have a clear answer. Maybe it's strategy. Maybe it's team development. Maybe it's market expansion, revenue growth, launching a new product, or building a stronger management team. Most leaders can answer that question pretty quickly. But here's the more uncomfortable question. If you take your calendar from last week, give it to AI and ask, what is this person really spending time on? Would the answer match the answer you just gave? For many people, the answer is no. I know because I tried this with my own calendar. I gave AI my recent weekly calendar and asked it to analyze where my time was actually going. The result was a little painful. AI pointed out that more than 60% of my time was going into reactive work, update meetings, handling incidents, joining conversations where my presence didn't really change the outcome, and sitting in meetings where, if I'm being honest, someone else could have handled it just fine. Strategy was under 10%. That number was not fun to see, but it was useful because your calendar often tells a clearer story than your intentions. You may believe you're spending your week as a leader, but your calendar may show that most of your week is being spent as a firefighter. So this video is not really about time management. It's not about squeezing more tasks into your day, waking up earlier, or trying to be more productive every hour. This is about using AI to see the gap between two things: the leader you think you're being, and the leader your calendar shows you're actually being. And once you can see that gap clearly, the next question becomes very simple. What should you change next week? And that's what we're going to walk through together. No one sits down at the beginning of the quarter and says, hey, you know what? I would love to spend 70% of my time on status updates, random follow-ups, and firefighting. No one plans for that, but it still happens. And the reason is simple. Meetings usually don't take over your calendar all at once. They creep in slowly. One weekly sync gets added here, one quick 15-minute chat gets added there. Someone pulls you into a meeting because they just want your input. You click accept because it takes only 2 seconds. But every time you accept one of those invitations, you give away another 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60 minutes of the week. One meeting doesn't feel like a big deal. But 3 months later, you open your calendar and it's packed from morning to afternoon. And the strange part is that no one designed it that way. It just grew. And when your calendar is full, it can feel like you're being productive. Today is packed. Can easily sound like, I got a lot done today. But being busy and being effective are two very different things. You can be in meetings for 6 hours a day and still not make one meaningful decision. You can answer messages all day and still not move the most important goal forward. So here is a simple way to look at your calendar. Ask yourself, is this the calendar of someone who's leading or the calendar of someone who is firefighting? A firefighting calendar is mostly reactive. Someone has a problem and you jump in. Someone needs an update and you attend. Someone is unsure of what to do and you become the decision maker. You chase work all day. Then at the end of the week, you look back and realize the main goal has barely moved. A leadership calendar looks different. It has protected time where no one is allowed to book over your thinking time. It has meetings with a clear reason, and those meetings connect to specific goals for the quarter. It has time for developing employees, meeting major customers, making decisions, reviewing direction, and noticing what the company may need before the problem turns into a fire drill. Those things shouldn't live only in your head, they need space on the calendar. Now imagine someone who doesn't know you at all. They can't hear your intentions, they can't hear what you say your priorities are. They can only look at your calendar from last week. Would they think you're leading, or would they think you're firefighting? Most leaders struggle to answer that clearly, not because they lack discipline. It's because when you are inside the week, every meeting has a reason. You remember who asked for it, you remember why it was added, you remember what might go wrong if you didn't show up. So from inside the week, the calendar can look reasonable. But from the outside, the pattern is much easier to see. AI can help here. Not because AI understands your business better than you, it doesn't, but AI can stand outside the week and show you the pattern. It can help you see where your time is going before another quarter disappears into meetings you never really chose to attend. You don't need programming knowledge. You don't need complicated software. You only need an AI tool such as Codex, ChatGPT, or Claude, and access to your work calendar. In this video, I'm going to use Codex. If you haven't used Codex before and you want a quick introduction, you can watch the previous episode through the link in the top right corner of the screen. I'll also put the prompts from this video in the description so you don't need to write everything from scratch. For the walkthrough, let's use one example all the way through. Imagine an operations director at a software company with about 45 people. On screen, you'll see a sample profile. This person is the co-founder and COO of an edtech company based in Austin, Texas. They're responsible for operations, product, and HR. They have 6 direct reports. And they have a calendar that looks normal at first. Planning meetings, customer calls, product updates, team check-ins, HR conversations, and a few company-wide meetings. As we go through the process, think about your own calendar from last week. You don't have to copy this example exactly, just pay attention to where the same patterns may show up in your own week. The first step is to let Codex read your calendar. Inside Codex, go to the plugin or connection area and turn on the Google Calendar connection. Then allow Codex to read your calendar. The setup usually takes less than 2 minutes. Once it's connected, Codex can inspect the calendar directly instead of relying on you to copy and paste meeting titles one by one. If you can't connect your calendar for security reasons, you still have a backup option. You can take a screenshot of last week's calendar and upload it to ChatGPT. Or you can list the meetings in text. That approach is simpler, but it gives AI less information. It may miss meeting descriptions, attendees, recurring patterns, and any recent changes. I don't recommend working this way if you can safely use a direct connection, because tools like Codex are much more useful when they can work with the apps you already use. But if your company rules require a manual approach, it's still better than doing nothing. After Codex can see your calendar, don't rush into any analysis yet. If you only ask, "Please review my calendar," the answer will probably be too shallow. Before Codex can tell whether your calendar matches your leadership work, it needs to know what your leadership work actually is. This is a step a lot of people skip. They connect the calendar and immediately ask AI to analyze it. Then AI gives them a time breakdown. Maybe it says you spent 12 hours in internal meetings, 5 hours with customers, 4 hours in one-on-ones, and 3 hours on hiring. Those numbers are interesting, but they're not enough. A calendar audit becomes useful when AI can compare your time against your priorities. So before you ask Codex to analyze the week, give it your goals for the quarter. In our COO example, let's give Codex 4 goals. The first goal is to increase revenue. The second goal is to hire an engineering lead. The third goal is to launch a new product feature. The fourth goal is to reduce employee turnover. Now, Codex has a better standard. It's no longer just counting hours. It can look at each meeting and ask, does this meeting help the COO move one of these goals forward? That gives you a very different kind of analysis. The more specific your goals are, the better the output will be. Grow revenue is okay. Increase expansion revenue from existing customers by 15%. Gives AI a clearer target. Improve hiring is okay. Hire a senior engineering lead by the end of the quarter. Gives AI a much clearer standard. So when you try this, don't give AI vague goals if you can avoid it. Give it the goals you would actually use to judge whether the quarter was successful. Now you can ask Codex to analyze the calendar. The full prompt is in the video description, so you can copy and paste it. The prompt asks Codex to do 3 main things. First, ask for more information before making recommendations. Second, sort each meeting into practical action buckets. Third, suggest a sample schedule for next week. Now let's walk through each one. Task 1, ask for more information before analyzing. Before Codex gives you advice, Ask it to ask you a few clarifying questions. For example, what's your role? Who's on your team? Which decisions can only be made by you? Which meetings are politically sensitive? Who can represent you if you don't attend? This step may seem small, but it makes the recommendation much better. Without context, AI may make suggestions that look clean on paper but would be unrealistic at work. For example, it may say, remove the investor meeting, because the meeting title doesn't look directly connected to revenue. But you may know that the investor relationship is needed for a funding round 6 months from now. Or AI may suggest that you step out of a product meeting, but you know that the team lead is still new and needs your support for another few weeks. In my test, Codex asked 5 questions before starting. One question was, who on the team can replace you in leading the operations meeting? Just answering that question forced me to think more clearly. Maybe the issue wasn't the meeting itself. Maybe the issue was that I had never clearly decided who should own it. That kind of thinking is really useful before AI gives any actual analysis. Task 2, sort each meeting into buckets. Next, ask Codex to go through each meeting and place it into 1 of 5 buckets. The first bucket is keep. These are meetings where your presence changes the outcome. The second bucket is shorten. These meetings still need to happen, but they don't need the full time block. The third bucket is convert into a message or email. These are updates that don't need live discussion. The fourth bucket is delegate. These are meetings that someone else can lead if they have the right context and authority. The fifth bucket is automate with AI. These are repeated summaries, status checks, preparation tasks, or follow-ups that AI can help produce. Notice the logic here. The goal is not to cut meetings just so the calendar looks cleaner. The goal is to decide where your presence actually changes the outcome. That's the question you want Codex to keep coming back to. If I'm in this meeting, what changes because I'm there? If the answer is not much, the meeting probably needs a different format, a shorter time block, or a different owner. Task 3, suggest a sample schedule for next week. After Codex categorizes the meetings, ask it to suggest a sample calendar for next week. Don't just ask it what to remove, ask it to rebuild the week and explain the logic. This helps you see the trade-offs. For example, if Codex removes too many internal meetings, you can check whether the team still has enough support. If it delegates a meeting to a direct report, you can check whether that person actually has the authority to make decisions. If it creates strategy blocks, you can check whether those blocks are placed at times when you can actually think. For many people, protected thinking time at 4:30 p.m. after 6 meetings isn't really strategy time. It's just a calendar block pretending to be strategy time. So ask Codex to explain why it arranged the schedule the way it did. You're not looking for a perfect calendar. You're looking for a better draft that you can adjust with human judgment. At this point, you have the overall picture, but you still need one number that makes the pattern easy to track. Step 4, calculate the percentage of time spent on work that truly needs you. After you get the analysis, ask Codex to calculate one key percentage. Ask, in the past week, what percentage of my working time went into work that only I can do? Then define what that means. For a leader, work that truly needs you may include strategic decisions, employee development, key customer or partner conversations, hiring for critical roles, deciding trade-offs, or thinking through the future direction of the business. In our COO example, the result was 27%. That means for every 10 working hours, the COO spent less than 3 hours on work that truly needed the COO. The remaining 7 hours went into meetings and tasks where someone else could have taken that ownership. Is 27% a problem? It depends. It depends on the company. A founder in a very early stage company may still need to handle many things directly. In that case, 30% to 40% of time on core leadership work may already be a good step. But if your company already has managers, clear processes, and owners for each area, that number should probably be higher. For many leaders in that situation, 45% to 50% or more is a healthier target. There's some research that gives us a helpful benchmark. One Harvard Business School study tracked how 27 CEOs used their time across more than 60,000 hours. The study found that the most effective CEOs spent an average of 21% of their time on strategy and 25% on people and relationships. Together, that's 46% of their time on core leadership work. The most effective CEOs spent a large share of their time on strategy, people, and relationships. So the point is not that every leader must hit one exact number. The number depends on company size, stage, team maturity, quarter timing, and how much your role requires direct customer or partner contact. But if you're at 27% and you have a team that should be taking ownership, the signal's clear. Your calendar is controlling you more than you're controlling it. The first time you do the full audit, it may take about 30 minutes. But if you stop here, you may do it once, feel a little uncomfortable, and then forget about it. The goal isn't to judge yourself once. The goal is to track the number week by week so you can see whether your calendar is slowly starting to match your leadership priorities. Step 5, turn the process into a Codex skill and run it every Friday. Now, let's make the habit easier to repeat. Every Friday, you're not going to want to open Codex and re-enter everything again. You're not going to want to re-enter your goals, your role, your team context, your meeting categories, and the entire analysis prompt. Too many steps means the habit will disappear. So instead, package the process into a Codex skill. In simple terms, a skill is a ready-made set of instructions. It tells Codex, when I ask for a calendar audit, use this process, ask these questions, compare against these goals, sort the meetings in this way, calculate this number, and suggest next week's schedule. After you complete the process, you can ask Codex, please package the calendar audit process we just performed in this conversation into a skill called Calendar Audit Assistant so I can reuse it next time. Codex can look back at the conversation and turn the steps into reusable instructions. It can capture how you defined important work, how you categorized meetings, how you measured leadership time, and how you wanted the next week's schedule to be suggested. From then on, you don't need to rebuild the whole prompt each time. You can simply say, use the Calendar Audit Assistant skill to review next week's calendar for me. Codex should already know what to do. It reads the calendar, it compares the meetings against your goals, it sorts the meetings into keep, shorten, convert to message, delegate, or automate. It calculates how much of your time went into work that truly needs you. Then it suggests a sample schedule for next week. If you want to take it one step further, use the scheduling feature in Codex. You can ask Codex to run the Calendar Audit Assistant automatically every Friday at 4 p.m. and send you the results. Friday afternoon is a useful time because the week is still fresh, but you still have time to adjust next week before Monday starts. At the beginning of each quarter, when your goals change, update the goals in the skill or in the conversation. That should take around 3 minutes. From there, the weekly audit will inspect your calendar against the new priorities. If you don't package the process, it may become one of those interesting exercises you do once and never touch again. When you turn it into a skill and schedule it, it becomes a leadership habit. It's like reviewing monthly financial reports. But instead of reviewing how the money was spent, you're reviewing how your time was spent. All prompts are in the video description. Copy them, paste them into Codex, and start with 1 week. Now imagine Codex has finished the audit. It's reviewed the calendar, it's listed the meetings to keep, shorten, delegate, convert into messages, or automate. In the RCOO example, Codex suggested more than 15 adjustments. That can feel helpful, but it can also feel like too much. So the next question is, where should you start? My suggestion is simple. Choose exactly 3 changes for next week and no more. Choose 1 meeting to cancel or step out of. Choose 1 meeting to shorten. Choose 1 responsibility to fully delegate to someone else. That's enough for 1 week. In our example, the 3 changes were delegate the engineering planning meeting to the team lead, shorten the all-hands meeting from 60 minutes to 30 minutes, block 3 additional mornings from 8 to 9:30 a.m. for focused leadership work with no meetings allowed during that time. Those aren't huge changes, but together they changed the week. The calendar went from 45 meetings to 27. The time spent on work that truly needed the COO increased from 27% to around 42%. That's a very real improvement. But here's the part leaders need to handle carefully. You can't just disappear from meetings and assume everyone will understand. Inside a company, a meeting isn't just a block of time. It's also a signal. When you're consistently present, the team may read that as, this topic is being watched. When you suddenly stop attending without saying anything, they may read this as, maybe this is no longer important. Or worse, maybe the boss no longer cares. So when you leave a meeting, communicate it clearly. You can say something like, I'm reorganizing my calendar to focus more on goals A, B, and C. Starting this week, this meeting will be led by D. I'll review the outcome after each meeting. If there's anything that truly needs my decision, please reach out through Slack or email. That short message does three things. It explains the reason, it names the new owner, it tells the team, if you still need me, I'm here. That way, the team doesn't feel abandoned. They understand that you're not stepping back because you stopped caring. You're giving someone else clearer ownership. A better calendar doesn't give you more time, it also helps the team grow. When you step back from work that doesn't truly need you, other people get space to step up, make decisions, and take responsibility. That's often how delegation becomes real. Not because you talked about delegation, but because your calendar finally made room for it. At this point, AI has done a lot of useful work. It's reviewed your calendar, it's found patterns, it's suggested what to keep, shorten, delegate, convert, or automate. But this part is still your job. AI can review a calendar very quickly, but it can't fully understand the context behind every meeting. So before you accept the recommendations, check for three things AI may miss. First, AI doesn't understand internal politics the way you do. Some meetings look unimportant on a calendar. The title may be vague, the agenda may be light, the business reason may not be obvious. But in reality, that meeting may be where you're building trust with someone whose support you'll need 6 months from now. AI can see the title, time, attendees, and maybe the description. It can't fully see the relationship being built inside the room. Second, your calendar doesn't capture all of your leadership work. Many useful leadership moments never appear as calendar events. A quick message to unblock someone, a 5-minute conversation after a meeting, decision made while walking to another meeting, a small piece of feedback that helps someone avoid a bigger mistake later. AI only sees what's recorded. So if important work happens outside your calendar, you may need to tell AI about it. Third, faster is not always better. Some conversations are slow for a good reason. Some meetings don't have a clean output, but they help people connect, build trust, or understand each other better. If you cut every meeting that looks inefficient, you may accidentally weaken the relationships that hold the team together. So use AI as a mirror, not as the boss of your calendar. Let it point out where your time may be drifting. Let it show you which meetings look misaligned. Let it challenge you when you're spending too much time on work other people could own. But you still decide which relationships to protect, which meetings to keep, and what kind of leader your calendar should reflect next week. Your calendar isn't just a list of meetings. It's a record of how your time is being used. And deeper than that, it's a record of how you're leading. When your calendar gets filled with reactive work, you don't just lose time. You slowly lose the ability to focus on the work that truly needs the person at the top. So try this once this week. Set aside 30 minutes. Open Codex, connect your calendar, or upload your information. Give Codex your goals for the quarter. Ask it to inspect the week, categorize your meetings, calculate the percentage of time spent on work that truly needs you, and suggest a better schedule for next week. If the result makes you a little uncomfortable, that's probably a good sign. It means you saw something clearly enough to change it. But don't stop at the insight. Choose 3 changes for next week. 1 meeting to step out of, 1 meeting to shorten, 1 responsibility to delegate. Then repeat the process next Friday. The value of AI doesn't come from asking one interesting question. It comes from turning that question into a workflow you actually use. If you implement just one structured workflow from this video, you're already operating with more leverage than most teams that are still just experimenting with AI. If you want more practical and clear ways to improve workflows and use AI more safely, do me a favor and click the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next implementation guide.